Hey everybody, this is Wendy Ponomarenko. I'm the librarian and art teacher at Temple Emanu-El. And as part of the ongoing library project, I've been reading a book a night, bringing our temple resources to our families in this time of need. And tonight's book is Rachel's Library by Richard Ungar. Hope you enjoy. Okay, this is Rachel's Library by Richard Ungar. People of Chelm, we have a serious problem, Simon the carpenter announced to the villagers gathered in the square. Yesterday, a traveler from Minsk asked me whether it's true that we eat breakfast for dinner and dinner for breakfast. When I replied, "Of course," he laughed. And that is not all. Just this morning, I overheard a porter from Lublin saying to another, "Those people of Chelm are so foolish. They wear socks on their hands and gloves on their feet." "But Simon," said Izzy the water carrier, "what is the problem? After all, it's true, at least in winter." "True or not," replied Simon, "we must put an end to outsiders regarding us as foolish." All of the villagers nodded, but how could they convince people of their true wisdom? After much debate, they decided to send a special delegation to Warsaw. After all, they reasoned, in a place as worldly as Warsaw, they were bound to find a solution. As with all other decisions of importance in Chelm, the adults were asked to draw straws to see who would go. Simon dazzled everyone with a very bold straw drawing. The drawings made by Izzy and Miriam, the matchmaker, were equally impressive. In short order, Simon, Izzy, and Miriam were chosen as Chelm's special delegation. It's important to be an artist here. Early the next morning, the special delegation set out for Warsaw. As they bumped along in Izzy's cart, Simon noticed the blanket beside him jiggle. Nothing more than a rough patch of road, he thought. But a moment later, he heard a sneeze. It came from underneath the blanket. Simon grabbed a corner and flung it upward. "Rachel? Hello, Father. A perfect day for a trip to Warsaw, isn't it?" "But you can't. Aren't you supposed to be helping your mother?" said Simon. "Mama doesn't need me today, but don't worry, Father. I won't be any trouble. I've brought along something to occupy me for the journey." And Rachel pulled a book out of the folds of her blanket and held it up. The title was Detective Deborah and the Mysterious Case of the Pickled Herring. Simon frowned. "Very well, Rachel. Since you're here, you may come along. But remember, this is a business trip. There will be no stops at the candy shop on Lubelsky Street." "Oh, thank you, Father." Rachel hugged Simon and then plunged back into the world of Detective Deborah. After traveling all morning and most of the afternoon, the dusty group finally arrived in Warsaw. The city was bustling. Old and young, porters, peddlers, and scholars talking, laughing, and shouting as they went about their business. Izzy navigated the cart down a broad avenue. Gazing up at the grand buildings, he remarked, "Look, everyone, the houses here are so tall. Even a bird would be out of breath so high. I'm certain if we build houses like that in Chelm, no one would ever doubt our wisdom." "But who would want to live in such houses?" said Miriam. "Not I, for one. From such a height, I would never be able to peek into Sarah the Weaver's parlor to see what's going on, or smell the wonderful aroma coming from Selma the cook's kitchen." Miriam was right, they agreed, and so they carried on. After a while, the avenue narrowed, and the buildings were replaced with fine shops. A gentleman sporting a top hat, handsome overcoat, and shiny boots emerged from one of the shops. "Look at that fine fellow," Izzy exclaimed. "I'm certain that if everyone in Chelm dressed as stylishly as him, no one would think us foolish." "But Izzy," remarked Simon, "what can you do with a top hat? You can't easily toss it onto a hook or worm your hands inside it, as you can my wool cap. And with all the wonderful mud puddles in Chelm, no one would ever have shiny boots for long." Simon was right, they agreed, and so they carried on. Soon they arrived at a busy marketplace. All manner of scent and spice filled their nostrils. "I have it," declared Miriam. Do you see how that vendor is using a scale to weigh his fish? I'm certain that if Chelm had a scale like that, everyone would think us very wise." "But Miriam," said Izzy, "what's the use? No fish from Chelm would ever agree to be placed on a scale. They much prefer swimming in the river." Izzy was right, and they agreed, and so they carried on. By now the sun was low in the sky. Simon, Izzy, and Miriam knew that it was time to begin the journey back to Chelm, but they were reluctant to return empty-handed, and so, unable to decide whether to carry on or turn back, the delegation halted. When Rachel saw where they had stopped, she leaped from the cart. "Father, I know this place!" She pointed to a building with an elegant door. "I've been here before with Mama. It's a library." "A what?" "A library, Father, a place of many books." "So, what can such a place do for us?" asked Simon. "Everything," replied Rachel. "Think, Father, who is the wisest person in all of Chelm?" "Our Rebbe, of course," Simon answered without hesitation. "And what is our Rebbe always doing? That is, when he's not helping others or in the synagogue praying." Simon was baffled for a moment, but when he saw two scholars walking by, an idea suddenly came to him. "He reads his books." "Exactly," said Rachel. "So what better way can there be to show the world that we're wise than by having our very own library in Chelm?" And with that, Rachel bounded up the step and disappeared into the building. Simon, Izzy, and Miriam quietly considered Rachel's idea. A library for Chelm? No one could think of a single thing wrong with it. A few moments later, Rachel emerged, clutching a slim volume. Simon squinted at the title, "The Collected Writings of the Sages of Chelm." "But what about the rest?" he said. "One skinny book is hardly enough. We need all of the books in that library to take back with us to Chelm." "But, Father, if we took all the books, the people of Warsaw would be left with nothing to read. Trust me, I'm certain that one borrowed book will be enough to start." Simon frowned, but there was no time to argue. The sun was beginning to set, and they had a long journey ahead of them. Dawn was breaking when they finally arrived back in Chelm. Despite the early hour, all the villagers were in the square to greet them. "New?" said Herschel the tailor, spying the empty cart. "Where is the thing that will convince all who travel through Chelm that we are wise and not foolish?" "Show them, Rachel," Simon said. Rachel took the book that she had borrowed from the Warsaw Library and stood up on a crate next to the village water pump. Everyone stared at the book. Surely there must be something magical about it, they thought. Why else would the special delegation have brought it back from Warsaw? No one blinked for fear of missing a miracle. After a while, Simon whispered, "Rachel, people are beginning to lose patience. They're saying we have failed. They're asking what good is a single book on a crate." You're right, Father. Something needs to be done." Rachel ran home and retrieved her favorite book. Then she approached the crate very deliberately and placed it next to the volume already there. Suddenly, it was as if a spell had been broken. "I too have a book that I've finished reading," exclaimed Sarah the weaver. "And I can donate a book also," shouted Herschel the tailor. "And I as well," chimed in Raphael the musician. "We will need shelves to hold our books," declared Simon, sprinting off to his workshop to build them. "And don't forget walls and a roof," called Izzy, running to catch up to Simon. Soon the square was alive with villagers hurrying this way and that. Some placed books on the new shelves. Others put up the walls. Still others brought chairs and tables. The villagers were so pleased with their new library, which they named Rachel's Library, that it was not unusual for them to make daily trips there to borrow books. In fact, some of the villagers, Izzy the water carrier included, found themselves making at least 3 trips there a day. Not always to borrow books, mind you. More often it was to pump water from the village water pump, which, after all the dust had settled, was now located squarely within the walls of Rachel's library. The end. The stories of the people of Chelm are often told in this folkloric way that makes them seem foolish in a way that doesn't always even make sense, especially to our ears nowadays, being pretty decently educated urban people, city dwellers, whereas we kind of forget our rural backgrounds and often very uneducated backgrounds. Now, the Jewish people overall have a background of being pretty educated overall in comparison to a lot of other peoples, especially of their time. However, the people of Chelm are kind of seen as this kind of rural, uneducated group among our Jewish set that tend to do foolish things, that tend to have foolish ideas, and that often these ideas don't work, but they wind up having some kind of unexpected result that winds up working in their favor in some way, depending on the story. Honestly, though, of all the people of Chelm stories that have been told over that we have, and we have lots of them in the library, we have at least 20 different books regarding the people of Chelm, not only just in the kids sections, but in the adult sections as well, the folklore section especially. This one's actually my favorite because they actually do fall on something that actually would and would make them wiser, that actually would like complete the mission and actually make them wiser, and that is to read, to take in information. And they actually wind up in a situation in which they're giving themselves the opportunity to create something that will actually bring them wisdom. And it's community building. Libraries are community building. People come together to learn and to become better people. This is what libraries are all about. We're forever learners. You never stop learning. And in a library, you're constantly taking in, you're actively taking in information. And so yeah, Rachel's library can be found in the easy fiction section in the Juvenile stacks. I hope you enjoy.